Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the PHAT Muscle Project podcast. I'm John Gorman, one of your hosts today. We got Lisa Franz in the house. And Lisa, I have said that so many times, I can say it in my sleep now at this point. We are getting close to 100 episodes. I don't even know which episode this is, but we're getting close to 100. Most of them since I think episode 15 have been you and I. So, welcome back. Thanks for being on the show. And how has life been for you lately?
It's been awesome. I continue to enjoy life in Latin America just a little bit more relaxed than in other places, perhaps. And I did not have to deal with annoying daylight savings over the weekend. So, yay for
Yeah.
that.
I think for all of our coaches listening, all of your clients' weight's going to be up just a little bit because we're all missing about an hour's worth of sleep, which means the scale is going to slightly be higher. I was actually going to post about that today. But other than that, listen, we rock and roll, even if it's on low sleep. And it's, speaking of low sleep, rock and roll, the entrepreneurial lifestyle, we're going to talk about that today. Please welcome to the show, Tim Rexius. Tim, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, good, man. Glad to be on the show. Honored to be here.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. I know going back, I've had people telling me for a long time, you and I need to do some kind of business together, spanning all the way back to prior to 2020,
Yeah.
when I kind of first launched the supplements Fat Muscle Project. And I remember I had a couple like Elena and multiple people that had worked for you that said, "Hey, you guys need to link up." And we didn't hear until recently. And I got to go up, myself and Leslie got to meet you, your wife Brittany, business partner Nick Langer, which is someone that people are familiar with because he spoke at our event last year. And it's like, man, I got to meet somebody I'm probably related to and didn't even know it because you and I have so much in common. And so I want to tell your story. And you're a talker and I'm a talker, and I'm going to keep babbling on, but I want to frame this to have people understand when you get to meet or hear ultra successful people, it's we're going to show people what this is really like you're exactly what I want people to understand what a successful entrepreneur is, that's in the trenches working, not what we see on social media and people trying to look the part. And this is going to be a real look in the trenches of what it's like to build and grow. So if you would let people listening know a little bit more about you and the businesses that you own.
Oh, absolutely. Tim Rexius, father of six. Yeah, that's why I'm gray.
Yeah.
Really, they've aged me. All spanning from 26 years old down to 7, and I have a 1-year-old grandson that is I'm his favorite, which my wife's not on here, so she can't dispute that fact. My husband, a wonderful wife, Brittany, who is absolutely everything, and I outkicked my coverage a long ways, like really, really. Yeah, she's I'm very funny. That's all I got going for me. So, yeah, I was born and raised in Norfolk, Nebraska, and Northeast Nebraska, and addicted to sports and bodybuilding, football, track, college football, and got my shot at the NFL, and that lasted about 2 months. Shattered my shoulder into 30 pieces, and then I started working in nutrition in 1998 at
Wow.
GNC. Yeah, a
Yeah.
long time ago, and I just needed a discount. At the time, it was the only thing really around, and I got the great opportunity to work under one of the top franchisees for GNC. That actually his first store ever was the Norfolk, Nebraska store. I ended up running, I think, 150 locations across the U.S. And so I got to work underneath a really great guy there, and with the Talkie brothers who had stores everywhere. And all I saw was like, wait a minute, you get to talk about lifting weights and taking supplements all day, and that's a job. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I need. That's what I need to do, right? And did all the way through college and loved it, and got my shot at the NFL, and that was it. And then, I'll say this about entrepreneurism: college does not prepare you for anything outside of the traditional means. And so far, every great entrepreneur I've ever met did not come from a rich family and an easy loan. I haven't met one successful one yet, really. I'm sure they probably exist. If you are, I'd like to meet you. But I there was no education, alternative financing to have my business plan in college, and the Rexius Nutrition business plan. The highest grade I ever got on it was a D. And I have that in my office in one of these cabinets back here. Actually, I still have it 25 years later. And when I won Entrepreneur of the Year for the Midlands, the top CEO in the Quad States, I actually invited those same college professors when I got 40 under 40, this is years back, to that presentation, being like, "You remember this? Looks like I was right." Because that's the thing, as I found with entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur is you're crazy. We're nuts. We are not wound the same as other people. We are the exception to the rule. And if you give people your business idea and they say that's a good idea, then you haven't gone crazy enough. Your idea should make other people uncomfortable. So I went and worked in the industrial chemical field on pandemic outbreaks, actually for 6 years. Background's biomechanical engineering. I worked on West Nile virus and avian flu and swine flu with the FDA. And there isn't enough money on this planet to make me work with politicians ever again in my life. So all you folks out there keep telling me I need to run for office. You can keep that job. No, thank you. And 29 years old, I was just young enough and dumb enough to go completely for broke. And I did. All my money I had made invested in real estate. And if anybody remembers 08, 09, yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
time. And so I was like, well, now I'm broke and miserable. Instead of being rich and miserable, let's be broke and happy, and did everything I could. And it took, trust me, a lot of God in there, a lot of good timing, and got my first Rexius Nutrition store open in August 1st of 2010. And man, it's been a journey ever since, my friend. It's been nuts.
Yeah,
So,
and that spurs different questions for me as I think about this. So I want to go back to school and college.
yeah.
Um, I think a lot of times people don't realize that it takes a certain DNA to be a very effective, successful entrepreneur. And it takes a certain type of person, right, to be a PhD or get their master's or just even a degree in college, right? And for guys like you and I, a lot of the times those people work for us, and that's not to demean them. That's
No.
because guys like us need people like that are ultra educated in a very specific field because we see things through an entrepreneurial lens where we can't see things through the lens of somebody that's, has your wife's a perfect example, right? Like she's very, very good at finances and numbers, right? We need people in various different areas. And I think a lot of people don't understand the connection between education and the people that we need, and then how we see things through an entrepreneurial lens. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing is I give speeches at high schools. I still, I do a lot of keynotes, obviously paid throughout the US. But I do all the high school speeches, college speeches for free. Whenever they ask me, I go because we need to be a page in that storybook for other people. We need to be for other ones what we needed at that age. And I always get up in front of a classroom, and I had 1,200 kids in one auditorium here before Christmas, and it was kind of awesome. And my daughter got to come with, so I got to embarrass her a little bit, and she was running the video camera. And I said, like, how many of you guys would like being self-aware, right? Self-audit. Because a lot of people think they want to be an entrepreneur until they do it. And they realize this is not for me. And that doesn't demean one for the other. I mean, I'm glad my surgeon isn't an entrepreneur. I'm glad he decided that 16 years of medical school was the path because he's cutting me open, and which I've had enough surgeries between bodybuilding and sports. You know this.
Yeah.
I'm glad he did what he did, right? So it doesn't demean put one over the other. You're just wired different. And I said, how many of you guys would like to have been the 27th person hired at Facebook? No hands are up. 1,200 kids. How many of you guys would like to know that that guy's worth three-quarters of $1 billion because of stock options? All their hands go up. I said, okay, understand your position in any company. You're an integral part of that success. And we all can't be the same. We don't want it. Without Steve, my VP of operations, Steve's got a master's in chemistry and a master's in education. He was a high school chemistry teacher, tenured professor, and I stole him. And I very proudly stole him. But, if you can manage that many high school kids, you can manage my staff, no problem. And if you've got talents and you just recognize it, and he's a great number two. I mean, he's perfect in that aspect. And without him, without my wife, I mean, I have so many crazy hare's-brained ideas, and my wife keeps me grounded, keeps me level. Okay, let's go through the math of this. And every once in a while, it's how good of a salesman am I? Can I talk her into it? Can I not? And that's where and it challenges me in that aspect. Okay, I got a great idea, but economically, it's just not feasible because of X, Y, and Z. And without these people in these key positions, an entrepreneur cannot really scale to a level of success that we dream of.
Yeah, and I think that's a good, kind of segue into opening your first store, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to start to talk about that. I think every bro, whether it's a guy or girl listening, we've all, when we started in the industry, we all thought I would love to be paid to work at a gym, right? Like I get
Yeah.
to help people work out, or like me, I thought I would love to work in a supplement store. I never did, but I sold supplements in my gym. So technically, it was a supplement store inside the gym.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's always thought, man, I love this stuff anyway. I would love to get paid for it. Talk about opening that first location and what that was like. And then, kind of, if you would just take it from there and talk about opening various stores, because I want to get into detail on
Yeah.
that.
All right, so the first one was challenging because I just lost all my money. So I literally, and I was like, okay, so getting the lease, the first part, everyone thinks I can get the loan. I've got 50,000. Okay, that's great. You've planned out your opening expenses and everything else, but you haven't figured out like, hey, we all think we're to be overnight success, but you need to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And so I've learned that over the years. It's like, okay, give me 6 to 12 months of operating income. Hey, plan in a budget for what you're going to pay yourself. Figure out the overhead in your life plus 10% because things happen. Cars break down, air conditioners go out, and all the stuff that I didn't, do as well probably at that stage. But getting the lease might be the hardest part in your retail business for a gym, especially because it's such a large space, but retail stores, no different. That landlord wants to know that you can secure that loan for 2 to 5 years, whatever the term is, and do you have the assets and collateral to manage that? And so it's hard. I mean, you might get the loan for the 50,000, but do you have the 250,000 in equity or asset collateral to put against the building, especially if the landlord's going to do some build out for you. If you're going to do a
Right.
gym, as we found out, most buildings don't come with showers. My second smallest gym that we own still doesn't have showers. We're working on that. So, but it's just there's a lot of things that go into it, and so everyone kept telling me no. And this is where persistence as an entrepreneur really comes in. And I haven't told this story a whole lot. So I looked at a property and I met this, and I'll never forget this guy's name, and I won't say him to make him famous, but he was quite a jerk. I had the spot picked out, 132nd and Dodge in Omaha. It's Linden Market, gorgeous plaza next to a Hy-Vee, nice grocery store. This is the spot, and that spot would have killed. I wasn't wrong. He's like, well, you don't have collateral. Nobody's going to loan to you, blah, 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 blah. And I got mad and I talked to a buddy of mine who was a realtor. And I was like, man, like, how do I do this? And he goes, you know who really hates that guy too? He didn't have any advice. He goes, the guy that owns Westwood Plaza really can't stand that guy. I go, really? Yeah, he can't. He hates his guts. You should go talk to him and just tell him what he said to you. Maybe he'll hook you up. Well, I found out the guy was at a graduation party that next Saturday. And so I graduation party crashed
Yeah.
and he was 8 beers deep. And I go, hey, nice to meet you. I know so and so. Coley made it up. And I said, yeah, I'm working on my first retail property. And I was dealing with this guy, Dennis, and blah. He goes, I hate that guy. Don't rent from him. I'm like, well, you got a better spot? He's like, I got a spot for you. It's yours. You call me on Monday. It's yours. No questions asked. Sounds good. Called him on Monday. He goes, oh my God, I did say that. I said, you did. And he sent the realtor down there, who's still my realtor to this day. And he goes, yeah, and it was a Verizon wireless store that was closing down. Like I had the worst spot in Omaha. He goes, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is probably the worst spot in Omaha. It's on a curve. It's only 13 feet wide, but it's really long, so you don't see it. There's a tree right in front of where the sign's gonna go. Just to let you guys know, that is my number one grossing location in the country of all of our stores, and it's my
Yeah.
original. But so I finally get this. I get the store because I met the owner of the building when he was drunk, and hey, I wish there was better terms to that story, but it's true. And so here I got a shoestring budget. I got just enough money. I ended up buying gondolas from a closed down Walgreens over in the middle of Iowa, and I trucked them over and painted them with metal paint and stocked the store. I was really proud of it. In hindsight, it was uglier than sin. But I was super proud. And so then, of course, they're like, how are you going to market? Well, I spent all my money on the store. I got nothing. So I started bagging up supplements in little white baggies. And in hindsight, you really shouldn't run around in town with a bunch of baggies full of white powder with no labels on them. But
Yeah.
I did. I stuffed them in my gym bag and realized the one thing that I have that money can't buy is an ability to create impactful relationships in a very short time. I'm authentic. I'm organic. What I say is what I mean. I truly want good things for every person I meet. And I'm friendly as can be, and I like to work out. So I went to 3 different gyms every single day for 3 years. Now I would train hard at one of those, and the other ones I was doing puff stuff. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of abs, a little bit of calves. I'm a tall guy, so the more calves, the merrier. Honestly, there's probably not enough calves in the world. And then arms, because why not? And just got talking to everybody. Got to know every trainer. Realized that most of the trainers at these big gyms don't get paid jack squat. And so getting them hooked up with a discount and some samples. Hey, I'll kick you back a little percentage, whatever your clients bring in. Just give me a shot, and just repetitively and over 2 years, the first 2 years, I knew every single trainer that worked out at any single gym in West Omaha. I knew every single person that went to any gym in Omaha, to the point that all of a sudden here I'm going against Complete Nutrition at the time, which was spending $80,000 a month on radio ads alone in the Omaha market.
Yeah.
And they made a bet that I wouldn't make it 6 months, which a friend of mine told me, and I took that personal. And fast forward 17 years later, they don't exist. And
Yep.
we have stores in 7 states. But, we just started building, and we finally got in the profits. And my first employee was a friend of mine I worked with at GNC back in the day. He got in, it's his business, but he got in a little bit of trouble. So he needed a job consistently, 8 to 5. I was like, and he started working for me, and he goes, "Hey, I want to start my own store." And this is about 6 months into it, and we're just starting to roll. I'm like, "No." He goes, "I want to put one up in our own hometown in Norfolk, Nebraska." I said, "Well, how about this? Take whatever money we're going to spend, buy in, become my partner." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd rather work with you. I poured all this time into you. You got all this talent. You've got a great work ethic." And I said, "Let's partner up. Let's just tag team this beast together." And so Rexius Nutrition Norfolk opened up a year later in 2011. And that started a chain for me with stores, which will continue in the conversation, where I look at every employee differently. Every employee I have, that is a long-term future business partner interview. If you find someone with immense talent and a work ethic and you pour energy into them, why do you want to compete against them? And why do you want to let it go away? So many owners get so, gripped on ownership. And I get why, but, is what's worth 100% of a $100,000 business or 70% of a $10 million business? Sometimes you just gotta you gotta math
Yeah.
it out. And so bringing him on, Shane, was the greatest decision I ever made. Then we got 2 stores, and then we're rolling through 2012.
Can we pause here real quick just for a
Yeah,
second before you get too much farther? I want to ask you a real quick question.
yeah,
Um, there's this really, really good saying called "the enemy of my enemy is my friend."
hmm
Okay. And I saw you utilize that to get your first location.
oh
Doesn't
yeah,
matter how good the location was, you made it your location. But the
yeah,
enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, I learned that a long time ago studying Sega and Nintendo and the console wars. Sega went and they found other developers that Nintendo had pissed off, and they became,
yeah.
building video games for them, right? They leveraged that. Have you used that in any other areas of business? Because there's a cool conversation that we had, and we might be jumping ahead, but you and I in person had this conversation because we've both started businesses where people have pissed us off, right? Or
Every
we've done
business.
business, yeah, or we've done business with somebody else because they were the enemy of our prior,
Yeah,
enemy or competition. Have you utilized that anywhere else?
all the time. I mean, I've used it in every single facet that we've done. I mean, sometimes the best ingenuity comes out of us getting pissed and being like, "Okay, listen, if I'm mad, there's probably other people mad too." You just got to make that assertion. And because I don't
Yep.
fancy myself as an a-hole, So if you make me mad, I got to assume you did it to somebody else. You know what I mean? And so like with the gyms, I got kicked out and banned for life from we'll call it Globo Gym because I'm not giving them any press. I got
Right.
kicked out and banned for life 2 weeks before my last show because I was intimidating other guests. Well, first of all, it was 10 o'clock at night. I was the only one there.
Yeah.
And I go, "Karen, I'm the only one here." She goes, "They want to sell supplements in the gym, and you're kind of like the king of supplements here. So we had to find a reason to kick you out." I go, "Thank you for your honesty."
Yeah.
She goes, "I'll still buy stuff from you." I thought, awesome. And 2 weeks later, we signed a lease on a 7,000 square foot bay to start the first Iron Heaven gym location. I mean, it's just repetitively gone on. And so I've just find that, when I find people, especially in business that have not done good business, that have not treated people correctly, that's an opportunity for somebody who does things right every time. And if you don't pounce on it, then it doesn't make you it just makes you foolish. I mean, if you know, it's like leaving money on the table. And I've used this so many times in so many different brands and businesses. And you know, like Europa Sports, which is no longer really in the sports nutrition field like it was before. But you know, my first rep, to give you an idea how far back I go with this guy, like he was the first one when I first called up, getting a vendor account. Like, here's my plan. He goes, dude, this is gonna rock. I'm like, really? Everyone else says I'm nuts. My parents said I was stupid. They're not going to invest. I mean, everybody did. And he goes, no, I think this will work. He goes, I know your market. I know your area. He's from Texas. His name's Jason Reddick. One of my best friends, 17 years later. We still talk literally every day. Well, 2 years into the process, and his boss is telling him, hey, you need to call Rexius on the phone. He goes, Rexius doesn't like to get called on the phone. His exact words were, he learned how to read when he was 3, and he still remembers. Because that is my I hate phone calls. I hate them. I can't multitask if I'm talking to you on the phone. So, and he goes, he just likes an email. He buys from us. He buys heavy. He's growing or whatever. Well, he forwards me a copy of that email. He goes, look, my boss is trying to make me do. I'm like, that guy's an idiot. Well, they read his email and they fired him. And so I called up Lone Star, which was their biggest competitor, that day. I said, if you hire him, I'll move all my accounts over to you. And then he gives me a call 20 minutes later. Hey, I just got offered a job from Lone Star. No shit.
Love it. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
use the enemy. And I said, like, what happened? I go, he got fired from Europa because they told me he had to call me. And I know that's your biggest competitor. Oh, we hate them. Okay, cool. Well, now we can hate them together. And he got a job, and you know, fast forward all these years later, I mean, it happens every day, you know,
I
and it's
absolutely love that. Like, I love the behind the scenes things that people do that are strategic, that help their business or help someone else, which helps business. I mean, we're not going to get into it, but this behind me exists because of something like that, right? So, like, hearing what you've done behind the scenes, like, I love that because it's very strategic. And before we go back to 2012 and Rexius, enter Nick Langer, because you talked about the gyms, right?
yeah.
Was this kind of one of those situations as well,
Oh
where you
yeah.
guys open this, right? So,
Oh,
like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Talk about that.
well, okay. So when Nick was training for shows. This is when Nick was little. And everybody
I
knows
don't know if
Nick.
Nick's ever been little.
Baby Rhino was a mini Rhino back then. He was a light heavy, and he was a skinny light heavy, and you know, and that's right when him and Danny first got married, and I was prepping for shows, and Nick worked at Complete Nutrition at the time, and I would see him in the gym all the time. We just hit it off instantly, you know, and that's how I met Nick, and he's like, you should really hire me. I'm like, oh yeah, should I? And I'm like, I like your bravado, you know, because that's my attitude. And Nick's very blunt. Okay, Nick just what Nick thinks Nick says. Like, I guarantee if Nick says something to you, it's authentic. Okay,
Yeah.
it is no holding back. It just is what it is. And you know, fast forward now in a business partnership with him, it's very good for me. You know, because I'm the ultimate salesman, right? Like I'm gonna spin things and put everything in a great light. Nick's gonna go, boom, here's how it is. He's a sledgehammer, and I'm a paintbrush, and that's probably the greatest analogy I can come up with. But you know, Nick. So finally, I got offered Nick a job. I'm like, hey, I got an opening. He's like, yeah, you missed your shot. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm working for a GNC franchisee now, doing this and that and the other thing. And okay, I'm never offering you a job again. So 6 months later, that did not work out. He's like, hey, here's your shot. I'm like, oh God, what happened? It was just one of these situations where it opened up, um and so I hired him to work at a shop. He's like, well, I've been doing regional managing. I go, that's cute, but this is what I have. He
Yeah.
goes, okay, we'll talk about this. He goes, well, what's the record, right? The record is, you know, was like 30,000 for that location or something like that, which it had only been open for probably 2 years at that point, maybe in a year. He goes, cool, I'll crush it. I'm like, okay. Well, 2 months later, he in not even 60 days did 48,000 in sales. Went up by 50, over 50%. I
Yeah.
was like, you know, and then the people he brought with him are now franchisees of mine 12 years later. I mean, just because the correlation of having the right people, the right mentality. And, you know, and we were both kind of jaded on the GNC biz and the complete
Yep.
nutrition biz and how they did business. So we understood why I was doing what I was doing, not just for the paycheck, but like, hey, listen, I want to be authentic with how we sell stuff. I don't want the staff to know what we make on anything. I only want them to recommend products that they like, that they love, that they've tried, that they can testify on, not because I make an extra 10 points. And so and to this day, and we all do this, none of our staff knows what we make on anything. They don't get to see cost. That's not their job. Their job is to make happy customers that come back a second, third, and fourth time. They bring in the whole family for multi-generational business because that's how you build a legacy. It's not
Right.
how you make short-term profit, but it is how you build a legacy that's long-term profit. And Nick got it. And every time we get pissed, we start something new, which is happens often. Supplement brands and popcorn snack brands, and that's how all these companies came out, being like, seeing people not doing things right, and we're like, that's not right. We should step in. We have the capability, and we should do something. And so that's also the case in point. It comes down to relationships, right? Like if you're a loyal guy or loyal girl, that are you? I mean, and that's what people have to like. That's what I've done really well is when somebody's my guy, that's my guy. Like that's
Yeah.
that. Unless you break that trust, I am loyal to a fault. And I've done this in business, but this has also allowed me to get things done in a way that I don't think a lot of people in my position could get done. Because now I'm playing in the billion-dollar industry. And we're talking billion-dollar companies I'm competing against, and I'm getting things done faster and easier than mega giants who are traded on the stock exchange can get done. But that's literally because I've spent my career being a man of integrity, being loyal to my word, and being loyal to the people that I do business with.
And I want to talk about that too when we get to the
Yeah.
popcorn, the protein popcorn. So let's make sure we talk about, don't let me forget, Lisa,
Yeah.
all the connections that you've made over the years in doing business the right way, about how that opens doors, especially later down the road. So if you can go back to 2012, let's talk about opening various locations
Okay.
and where
So,
it goes from there.
all right. So the first franchise, which was our third location, Clayton and his wife ended up opening Grand Island. But how that happened, what people don't know, is I've been friends with Clayton for a long time, and my business partner friends longer. And back in the day when we, sometimes we're working open to close, bell to bell, didn't have any staff. I had a weight set behind the gondola in the shop, and so Clayton would come over and we'd hit the gym and we'd hit the weight stack in between customers. Plus, it looks better if your veins are popping when you're trying to sell pre-workouts. I was like 30 years old. I was young, and I was like, yeah, let's get this pump going. And he'd come
Yeah.
over. And anyways, I run into him at a gas station. And this is how Rexius franchising begun. Like quite literally. He was pissed. So he goes, I go, what happened? He's getting like a can of beer or something. And I said, what happened? He goes, I got fired today. I go, what happened? He goes, I may have said some choice words for my boss, who said some choice words about my spouse or something like that. So I quit. I go, oh, dude, that sucks. Anything I can do? He's like, yeah, let me franchise a Rexius store. And that was the extent of the conversation. I said, okay, no idea what I'm doing. And he goes,
Yeah.
and so like a week later, he calls me up. He goes, I'm dead serious about this. All right, cool. Let me call some people. Well, I had met some attorneys through happenstance, playing golf, and I helped somebody's brother lose a bunch of weight. Long story short, but I got to an attorney down in Scottsdale who was semi-retired, who specialized in franchise law, which is a very specialty law. Like these people are $1,000 an hour. To do an FDD, a franchise disclosure document, costs about $100,000 to be done correctly. I fancy myself fairly intelligent. I went to just enough pre-law school to know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to actually practice or get paid for it. I said, well, you let me write this to save money, because I'll be real with you. Here's how much money I have. I have 25 grand. That's all I got, and I got to do everything. He
Yeah.
goes, okay, I'll let you do this. It's just nice because I met him. It was his son that introduced us, and however I met him. And so I wrote all 120 pages of the franchise disclosure document. And he went through and certified it and did the CPA audit and everything done. So I started all of Rexius franchising for that 25 G's. And we started Grand Island. Had a hell of a time helping him get the loan, because I was never able to get a loan. It was kind of hard to help him get a loan, but we got it, and we got that first store open, and he killed it. They killed it. It was the family atmosphere. He believed in why we were doing what we were doing. His wife was from Grand Island, so they moved out there, started the store, and I remember when they hit 5 years, Shane and I paid for them, him and his wife, who hadn't been on a vacation since their honeymoon. We paid for an all-inclusive vacation out to the vineyards in California for him. And he's like, why? I'm like, because without you getting pissed, getting a can of beer in a gas station, I don't know if I would have had the motivator, but I felt his anger because I had been in corporations, been a number on a page, and knew how that was. And it sucks. And seeing somebody else want to stop being a number on a page and be in charge of their destiny, I was like, let's do this. I get to be this for somebody else when
Yeah.
I've been struggling the last 2.5 years. And so 2013, we opened up the first franchise, and the profits we made off of that with the franchise fee, we opened up our third corporate location, the Maple store that Nick now owns. He used to work for me at. And then going to 2014, so we're doing okay. We've got 3 or 4 stores. And, on the personal side, I was getting divorced. Had 3 young kids. And so here I'm a single dad with an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And, that's scary, because a lot of steady diet. I mean, here I am on prep for bodybuilding, but they have a steady diet of Red Baron pizzas and microwavable chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
I can't cook anything. So, and I remember telling Shane, my business partner, I go, I'm never dating again. This is such a racket. This sucks. And then I get a text from a buddy of mine. This is 2014, as I'm still working the shop, and he's a coach. He's like, hey, I got a girl that's going to compete in figure. She's really shy, and she's not going to. She's really quiet. She's been in your store before, I think, but won't say a word. Would you sponsor her as a favor to me? She's in a situation where she's getting divorced and all this other stuff too. And I say, okay, bring her on in. And that's my wife, Brittany. So my first female sponsored athlete is now my wife. And we met in end of 2014, and it was a whirlwind romance. And my kids, she started making these take and bake meals for me, and I would take home and cook them. I remember my son was like 8 or 9 at the time. He was like, so which friend is cooking this food? And I said, it's just a friend. He goes, marry her. This is delicious. I'm like, okay. And to give you an idea how amazing it is to have somebody who matches your crazy, who supports you in what you're doing. Rexius Nutrition went from that one state with the 4 stores to 5 states of operation in 1 year after I met her.
Wow.
We opened up in Missouri. We opened up in Iowa. We opened up in Colorado. We opened up in Minnesota. It just happened like a whirlwind. Because now I got somebody with the financial brains that can help me balance and how this all should work. Somebody else who believed in my crazy and matched it and pushed it and said, like, you can do more, which is what every entrepreneur wants to hear. Honestly, like, no, you're not on the path. Like, you need to go faster. And without her, I'll be real with you, none of this happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dedicated, motivated person. Don't get me wrong, but I just needed someone to say that I wasn't nuts.
Yeah.
That my crazy wasn't crazy. It was just it was eccentric, and then it was nuts, and she was competing, and she's way better looking than me. So I was like, you know what, maybe I should lean up. I shouldn't walk around 320 off season. I should lean up, maybe see my abs. So we were prepping for shows, and it was great. We actually found prepping together to be more fun and easier than doing it separate. And I hear a lot of people say, how can you prep at the same time? I'm like, well, you're eating the same food.
Yeah.
I mean, the simple fact is my wife's got such a ridiculous metabolism. She was on 1,000 more calories a day than I was, which pissed me off. Oh yeah. She's like, oh, it's so much food. I'll go, cry me a river. Oh my God. I just can't stop losing weight and I'm eating so much. I'm like, oh, the violins are playing in the background for you, dear. And she's genetically blessed. I mean, we would go to the stores in Colorado and Iowa, and we'd always go hit up gyms, and that was just our thing. And fast forward to 2017, stores are booming. We're killing it. Nick's on board. Nick graduated from running a store to being my director of brand development. And he's helped me buy the brands and do the negotiations because Nick's better at that than I am. And then, it's just me admiring talent. Like, I'm good at buying stuff. Nick, well, every vendor we ever had will say, Nick, oh man, can you tell Nick to be nicer? I'm like, no, his job's to save me money. Like, I'm telling him, I'm glad, I love his mean streak. Let him do his thing, and he's young at the time. Nick's only in his 20s, right? And, because Nick's almost 10 years younger than me. And, but he just got great talent, come a great family, seems like a great husband, and got the same values. And that really, when you're bringing on partners, and this is where this concept goes into, what kind of husband are they? What kind of wife are they? Because that really will tell you who you're going to business with.
Yeah.
If somebody will cheat on their spouse, they'll definitely cheat on their business partner.
100%.
So, I mean, like, do you, I mean, where's your integrity at? Where's your character deeply at? Because that's going to tell me what you're really made of. Everyone wants to talk the song and dance, and some people talk it better than others. But when things get hard, what do? That's really what you need to know. I mean, when everyone thinks they're going to make $1 million, cool. Everyone's happy and motivated, showing up early and leaving late. And when the proverbial junk hits the fan, what kind of person do we have in front of us, right? And so 2017, prepping for the show, get kicked out of the gym. And it really what was is Nick met Ed Koo, who was the Iron Rebel athletic gear coach at the time for powerlifting, and Nick decided he wanted to do a powerlifting meet to help put on some size, which I'll tell you, that did the trick for Nick. Nick put on like 20 pounds in one off season because he went into powerlifting for 1 year.
Yeah.
And so Ed Koo was coaching him, and Ed had a gym in East Los Angeles. My show was in LA, won the LA Open. And the day after, he wants to go train with Ed. And I'm like, all I want is donuts and a beer because I've been carb free for 8 months. I was like, you guys can do whatever you want. I'll be along for the ride. And we walk into Ed's gym at the time, which is closed since then. Hey, the movie, I'm obsessed with the movie 300. I love that movie. Gerard Butler is a badass, and I'm pretty sure my wife has a crush on him, but that's besides the point. There's a mural of the movie 300, like 80 feet on the wall. It's warehouse style. It's dark. It's just, this gym's pretty cool. And then my wife kept walking up to me, who at this point had always wanted to own a gym. She's like, we should start a gym like this. I'm like, no, terrible idea. And then Nick's like, hey, we should open a gym like this. I'm like, no, terrible idea. Well, we're on the flight back from LAX to Omaha, direct flight in American, and they're both just chirping in my ear. I had 2 beers. I think I hadn't had alcohol in 6 months, so I was probably drunk when I made this choice. 7 cocktail napkins later, we've got kind of an idea, and we signed a lease on a building 2 days later before we even had financing. And Nick's better ADD than I do when it comes up to coming up with names. And he's like, the day after, I got the name Iron Heaven. I'm like, sick. I love it. And that's, kind of how we started that first location. And we used the first business, Rexius, to co-sign to get the collateral we needed to start the gym. Because people own gyms, and you'll find this out really quick for any of your listeners. Banks do not want to loan gyms. They don't want to go to auction if the bank fails. The bank's always going to assume that the business is going to fail. So every plan they make is for when you go bankrupt. That's how banks plan their risk analysis. And so they're looking at $200,000, $150,000 in fitness equipment that's heavy, that's big. They have to store. They have to go to auction. You're going to get 10 cents on the dollar at auction on clearance. And so they just don't want to loan them. And so they're like, well, hey, if you co-sign Rexius to it, we'll do it. I'm like, all right. They go, that was a bit too easy. I'm like, well, listen, if anything I do, I will work until my knuckles bleed to make sure that it works. It's just losing is just not an option because I don't come from a trust fund. So we'll find a way to make it work. And, we are in our niche. And I've had a saying since the beginning that I stay true to now is don't try to be everybody's everything. Be somebody's something. And entrepreneurs in business, we try to satisfy everyone. Stop doing it. It's not going to work. Just stick to your niche. We wanted a gym with real iron weights. Clang and bang, baby. Just like when you're training. I wanted it loud. I want loud music. You want to drop weight? Awesome. Hopefully you're doing it because you're lifting a lot of weight, not just because you're a jackwagon trying to make a Instagram video. You want to chalk up. You want chains. Let's go. You want to do something stupid. Do it in our gym. That's what we want. 24-hour access. We just listed all the things that pissed us off about other gyms. Like, initiation fees. Ain't doing that. No. Contracts. Nope. Not going to happen. 24 access. Oh, heck yeah. Because that's where all good ingenuity comes from. It's like, what would we want perfectly for us? And Nick and I and Brittany and Danny were so, I don't know, arrogant or ignorant when it comes to gym ownership. Like, we're going to put a member cap in 200 people. And if you're not a badass, you can't. Yeah. That blew out the window. Yeah. Real fast. But in the hindsight, it was, good thought. And within a year we hit capacity. And instead of giving the fire department constant free membership so they didn't bust us on capacity rules, which, that happened. Yeah. We're like, my neighbor, literally up the street, nice guy, just always been nice to him. He's like, hey, I got a building you should rent. And so we have a process where Nick always goes and checks the building and then calls me and tells me if the clouds parted and the sunlight came down on the building, if it's a message from God. I kid you not, we've done this every time. I just sent him to a building yesterday. This is our process for 9 years. He goes, this is the building. Okay. Well, it's a former Bounce U. There were pictures of kids drawn on the wall, jumping. It had been empty for 10 years. And we're like, oh, it's gorgeous. So we opened that one in 2018, hit capacity in 90 days, literally. Wow. And then the first gym, the neighbor was moving and landlord was, you want it? I go, I'll take it right now. No questions asked, just signed on the dotted line, expanded the location again. And then, at the same time we're doing that, well, let me stick to the gym story, but at the same time as when we started popcorn and we started the supplement brand. But fast forward to 2020 on the gym side of things, I don't like being told what to do. That might be the biggest theme of my professional career. I do not make a good employee. I will be insubordinate. And I know it. I am unemployable. Getting a real job would really suck because I would get fired on the second day. Um, and so when COVID happened and they want to start locking things down, especially gyms, and I believe in what I do. I don't mean for money. Yeah, money's nice, but I believe in the power of what the gym can do for people. It isn't just vanity, contrary to popular belief. People go to the gym to overcome addiction, to overcome the three big ones, right? Financial reversals, death in the family, divorce. And my wife is a champion. She's 24 years clean and clean and sober, and so she understands. That's why she started training. This is a very powerful. My wife's way more of a hero than I am on this stuff. But we had three or four people reach out that were going through halfway houses. They were overcoming addiction in the gym, so we let them in. My wife and I paid for their membership, so they had a place to go. And if you lock them out, how many people got stuck in addiction and terrible ruts? And so Nick's like, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, do you trust me? He's like, yeah. I go, so you're cool if I do something insane? He's like, yeah. I go, okay. Well, I'm a registered minister and more of a fishing and weddings. And so I changed Iron Heaven into a faith and fellowship center. And technically we were a church. We put up the 24 by 48 signs outside. We unstaffed the gyms, said this is a place of worship. If you happen to use the things inside, you do them on your own accordance. And that's what it was. I got canceled 77,000 times. I got called in. I had to go in front of the city council on TV, the whole works. And I said, like, you don't understand. And so the gym, the same gym chain that kicked me out, locked their doors and then charged all the clients, all the personal training clients of all the staff of their trainers and all their memberships, and nobody can access. I started getting messages from this health club's trainers. And so we let them come in for free and their clients. And then off it, the Air Force Base shut down their gym. So we let all the military come in for free. And we're like, we're just going to do what's right. That's for us. This is what's right. This is what we're going to do. I got called into the cops and the police stations 37 times for social distancing. So I had to meet the troopers and the sheriffs and the cops 37 times. And 37 times they're like, hey, this is a really badass gym. I go, hey, did I mention we have a Hometown Heroes discount? All 37 signed up. So now I have the precincts, I have the county sheriffs, the correction centers, and the Offutt Air Force Base all wanting memberships. Well, because of doing that, it leads to a certain level of ingenuity. Your little key fobs happen to have one on my desk, right? Guess where they're made? China. Guess what else was shut down during the Wuhan virus? Well, that would have been China. So we had to think out of the box. Well, a guy I'd met does a barcode scanning system. So we switched to an app-based marketplace, put a barcode scanner out the door. So now we had unlimited ability to have an unlimited amount of people to access. And the gyms over a year and a half went up 600%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
then we started the third gym in Gretna, and that's the history of Iron Heaven. And, it's just because of us sticking to our value structure. We're like, oh, you're worried about money. I'm like, no, I like money. Trust me. I got 6 kids. I need it. But it wasn't about that. It was about letting people have access. That's why we didn't charge so many people. We figured, okay, we're doing this. Maybe people will be loyal back. And sure as heck, people were loyal back. They're like, I love your gym. I love what you guys stand for. You stood up against, and we were right. We reported all of our data to the CDC, and the national infection rate for people who trained more than 4 times a week was 0.000935% with an incalculable rate of transmission. That data came out in December of 2020, and that's what opened up the gyms back up in Minnesota and Arizona. So I was dead right. Now, I never saw a retraction or an apology from Karen or Kevin that emailed in, but I was correct. But we stuck to our value structure. That's what it was about, and it's and these are really family-owned gyms. This is where we set the culture from day one. Nick's been in here every day. My wife was in here every day. My wife gave birth in 2019, and the Chandler gym had only been open for 90 days. In February of 2019, because we opened it up in the winter of 2018. Well, our manager quit. And so my wife went back to work with our youngest, Roman, when he was 7 days old. One of his earliest pictures is him on the couch in the gym napping. And remember, a local chiropractor, a good friend of ours, John McLaren, was deadlifting. He's like, I was going to deadlift. And my wife, of course, because that's what we do, we give people shit. She goes, oh, I've seen how much you deadlift. You'll be fine. Or just, and this kid learned to walk in the gym. He had a walker, and he would run around the gym. in the walker as he got older. He's approaching like 8, 9 months old, and people, what's he doing? Oh, he's checking your squat form. You need to get lower, And so like literally, this kid's been raised in the gym, but this is what family business is about, and making your family part of the business is everything. And that's kind of what led into the popcorn back in 2018 when we were going through all this craziness.
Yeah, so I do want to say Leslie and I trained there after our meeting with you because we went up and met with everybody, like I said earlier. Trained there twice, Friday and Saturday. Absolutely amazing gym. We are gym nuts, gym bros. I would join there in a heartbeat. So if you're in the Omaha area, check out Iron Heaven 100%. Just awesome fucking gym. And I want to go back real quick and then I want to start to talk about protein popcorn because we've got about 10 minutes left. So how
Yeah.
many Rexius franchise locations did you have at your height? How many? Because I know we're in four. We're in four currently. Maryville, both of Nick's, and then the Cranium guys, Jamie and Brett, own one in Fremont. So we're in
Yeah.
four of your locations. How many did you have at the height of it?
We had 32 full franchises, and then we had 5 licensed locations for gyms at our height prior to COVID.
I love it. And
Yeah.
in all of this we're talking about, so you start Rexius, you own that, you own gyms. We didn't have time to get into it, but you own your own supplement line that you guys
Mhm.
put inside the supplement stores, which was something I wanted to nerd out with you about, but we don't have time. But owning your own house brand, because as you
Yeah.
know, I own a manufacturer, so I love
Oh, yeah.
doing that with guys like you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the protein popcorn over the next 10 minutes because
Yeah.
you literally have not been like you're home right now. You told us before the show started, you have been out growing this brand like crazy. And
I
I'm
haven't been
super, super
home
interested.
longer than 3.5 days since December in a
Yeah.
row.
So give people an
So,
idea of what you've been doing to promote it. Instead of telling
yeah.
the backstory, just kind of take us to
Yeah.
where we are now and what you've been doing to promote it and where it's going.
All right, so we spun it off into its own corporation a year ago. Brought on some investors too for the first time ever. And the deal is that I have to go out and build this brand. I make it differently. I will not sacrifice quality for money, which makes me different in the health and nutrition space. Every other protein snack in the market in the U.S. uses deregulated, defunctionated proteins that don't actually digest fast enough to repair anything, and everybody knows it. And so I wanted a snack that my kids would actually eat. I feel that most of the protein snacks in the market, they're filling niches, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they're all going after that same 10%, the you and me's, man. We'll eat a protein bar. We'll try these protein chips or protein pretzels, and nothing wrong with any of it. But what about the 90% of people who will not sacrifice taste for health? Because that's why we have such a obesity epidemic in the United States, is people are like, no, it's not worth the pain. So I went and developed this product with my wife, and we developed the bag. We patented the bag just so it could be see-through without using preservatives. So that the average person, like my parents or my brothers, would see that, hey, this looks like regular popcorn. We have 8, we're about to come out with 9 flavors. So I've been traveling nonstop. We launched we launched in 12 countries before we even ran an ad. And that's because of the relationship side. I've known people, the Olympias and doing supplement business all these years, and I've kept up with literally everyone. And so I'm like, hey, I developed this product. And they're like, hey, okay, I'll try it because it's me. And I've never asked them for anything. I'm like, hey, I want you to carry this. And we started launching in supplement stores and gyms. And we were all in Australia and over in Dubai. We were in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, now in Belgium and in Germany and Canada, and then now we're launching Costa Rica. But we realized that the average person really likes this snack. We
Do
started
you
having
have a
hospitals.
bag right there with you that you can show people that are watching on YouTube?
Yeah, hey
It's
Rick,
in the background, but explain too, real quick. Sorry to cut you off, but like use
you're
a
good.
whey isolate. Like you use a whey isolate where a lot of these other companies are using just shit
Garbage.
proteins like milk protein isolate and concentrates are fine as long as WPC 80, but you're literally using the highest grade protein you
Yeah,
can. And as
yeah.
you and I both know from our conversations, that is not cheap. Like the whole industry has
No,
been flipped on its head. So you're still using the
yeah.
highest, most expensive protein that you can. So if you
Well,
would talk
because
about that for a
well,
minute.
I say like it's like here's a small bag we launched for Singapore, which I'm
Yeah.
flying to next. The average person in Singapore is 6 inches shorter and 80 pounds
Right.
lighter. So just made some sense macro wise to make it for them. But for the most part, we have the main size bag. I wanted a snack that I, as a bodybuilder, would eat and not destroy my stomach. And any bodybuilder knows, like you guys are processing protein at a significantly higher rate than the average person. So any lactose polymers or degeneration in the protein and the needed to add bioenzymes for digestion is going to cause, surprise, gas.
Yeah.
Now, and now you have these cheap brands using milk protein isolate, mixing it with
Yep.
omega-6 fatty acids, which that mechanism also causes gas. Listen, folks, other brands, you want to piss off every woman in America? Give her gas. Trust
Yep.
me, three daughters and a wife. You're not going to make any friends.
Right.
And so I wanted it high grade. And next thing you know, the white cheddar, for instance, we're selling up to about 200 hospitals a quarter that give this to women with gestational diabetes or nursing moms because it checks all the boxes. I use refractionated organic coconut oil, which has 7 times the medium chain triglycerides as any other oil. And it's healthy for brain and eye development. I use hydroxylate. Why? Because anywhere from 3 to 93 can digest the protein
Yeah.
without any issues, without lactose. It's non-GMO. It's gluten-free. And and I get my kids to eat it. My kids are the real inspiration for every flavor. If you can get 6 kids to agree on anything, you are worth millions.
Yeah.
Trust me, I can't get them to agree on what movie we're going to, but I got them to agree on flavors, which I knew that we had something crazy. And I wanted it for everyone from my mom to my grandma to my grandson to be able to eat a snack that was efficacious, that actually tasted good. But here's the thing, 2 out of 200 people, not one person could tell which one was the healthy one with protein and which one wasn't.
Right.
WPI 90 is it's flavorless and it's super thin because it's the highest grade in the world. If I lower the quality now, my board of directors, thank God, understands my crazy and understands what I'm trying to do. There's no pressure for me to make it cheaper because the simple fact is that's a no. I'll
Yeah.
make less money. I'll go with the ebbs and flows of the market. Whey protein right now has been flipped on its head. Yeah, Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts getting into the protein frothing game on top of Starbucks drinks. But when you continuously heat hydrosylated proteins for longer than 12 seconds, you've destroyed the molecule anyways. They're going to get sued. So I'm not going to venture away from my path because of a little bit of fear of market insensitivity. And, the good thing for me is it led me to finally meeting you, somebody I'd heard about for a decade. Everybody's like, how do you not know him? I'm like, why does everybody say that? Well, now I know why, because they probably didn't want us to meet, bro, because we would talk everyone's ear off for probably 4 hours, and they thought probably what would happen. But by sticking to that quality, that allows me in countries in the Middle East that most U.S. protein snacks aren't allowed in at all. We're one of the few brands that meets the macronutrient deficiency and has the chain of custody, that has the shelf life without preservatives, that allows me to go everywhere else. That, let's put it this way, a very famous person started another popcorn snack in the United States that's been on TV. It's lower grade, it's lower quality, lower grade protein, but it only gets a 6-month shelf life because it's low grade. Well, you can't even take it into Canada if it's below 10 months.
Yeah.
So they're just on the US. That's where I've gone global. I just got back from Costa Rica, did the Walmart Expo for Central America. We had the busiest booth of probably 1,200 vendors. We did land Walmart, Costa Rica, Puerto Mundo. We landed all the supplement stores. We had 7 companies vying and fighting over rights to Guatemala, El Salvador, Colombia. Just did our first order for Nicaragua. Got a call from my my Costa Rican counterpart, and the Costa Rican government fast tracked our approval. Instead of 2 months, we got approved in 2 days.
Wow.
So tomorrow I get to negotiate that PO. I'm very excited. And we launch into Walmart Canada next Friday. So I'll get to fly up there and do that. And it's because we've done it right. We've done business right. We've partnered with great distributors in each country. And now we're focusing on the US. We've launched into 10,000 gas stations in the US in the last 18 months, the highest velocity rate. One chain told me that in 4 months, across 50 locations, they sold more protein popcorn in 4 months than they've ever sold the entire protein section combined in a year. Because the average person loves it. It tastes good. They feel better about the purchase. And that guy goes, well, it's like $9.99 a bag in the gas station. Will people buy it? I go, what's a pack of cigs right now? He goes, $10. I go, they'll buy it. It'll be fine. What's a bag of beef jerky? 15? Okay, we're cheaper than they are. You don't compare me to a protein bar. We're not in the same class. We're in a completely different category. And so my 7-year-old, the one that got raised in the gym, right? Well, this kid, when you have the youngest, it's like negotiating with the terrorist. My wife thinks he can do no wrong, and he can't. He's the prince. But his steady diet of chicken nuggets and chocolate milk does not exactly bode well for protein, but he'll eat the chocolate and the nacho cheddar protein popcorn, so he takes it in his lunchbox every day. So much that the other parents started asking questions. Now the entire first grade class is taking it. So we expect that in the next 36 months that we will probably be the #1 protein snack in the globe.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And as we wrap this up, I've got 2 quick questions for you.
Yeah.
One of them's for me because I'm about to learn a whole new side. We've got 80 retail locations that buy our supplements and sell, right? We're not in a bunch of convenience stores. We're not in these larger stores, right? So we're about to come out with 2 products that I can't say on here. And Tim, I don't even know if I told you about this or not, but we have 2 products coming out. They're not supplements that are built specifically to make that push into large places like Hy-Vees and convenience stores and stuff like that. And everybody will
Mhm.
see that announcement soon. April, our first one's dropping. What's the biggest thing about getting into these larger distribution networks that people don't understand? Because that's
Uh,
really hard. Like for people that don't
the
know.
when the mafia left Vegas, they went into grocery and gas stations.
Yeah,
I'm kid you
I
not.
agree.
It's a pay to play game and it's very challenging. And so what we had to do, like with Hy-Vee, and thank God I had a great partner in Hy-Vee, and we're about to relaunch all 400 Hy-Vee locations center aisle, which is awesome. Not the health market section, center aisle, which is huge.
Mhm.
I fought like hell for that. But was I was able to get Hy-Vee's regional enough and small enough that you're like, hey, let us test a couple locations, go talk to a health market manager, talk to the manager of that division and say, like, give it a shot. Let's get some data. And that's what we did. Start at one, then two, then 10, which got the attention of their distribution in-house, which is in-house. And they gave us a shot and it worked out well. And we're about to go national. And gas stations, same thing. Gas stations is even worse. Now, C stores, convenience stores, is the biggest sales channel in the world. There are 7 gas stations to every grocery store in the United States, 12 to 1 in the world. So it's the biggest sales channel in the world, and it's the hardest to get into. Now, why? They have no backstock room. They're relying on distributors because gas stations, they're using every square inch of that facility.
Yeah.
So, good thing for me is I have spent, like I said, a long time making friends in the supplement space. A kid took over a chain that's in Texas to Illinois from his dad, who happens to follow me, who's bought supplements from me years ago. He's like, and we goes like, yeah, I know you. I bought supplements for you back when I was in college, like 10, 15 years ago. Always treated me right. Like, tell me about this popcorn. And I got him to allow us to do DSD, direct store delivery. So it cost me a ton to ship to every location,
Yeah.
give them free floor displays, build it up. But we got the data. I took that data after 6 months and I got another chain to do it. And so now that store has 50, that chain has 50 stores. And I just kept churning the data. I'm not making much because of all the shipping costs and all this
Yeah.
stuff, but I'm doing in the free displays and sampling the staffs, all the great things we learned in nutrition, I'm applying to this industry. And I run to one chain, they go, you were the first vendor to ever give us a sample of the snack. I go, how long have you worked there? She goes, 30 years.
Yeah.
And the sales went up 400%. Old school salesman principles work if you apply them correctly and authentically. And so we finally got enough data that we launched into 2 of the largest convenience store distributors in the United States as a test, 2 locations, now a 3rd location. There once 5 locations going into 12, and now it's just going to start to spiral. And I also reverse engineered it because you know this as I know this. When it comes to protein snacks, the retailer makes nothing. And I found out the distributor doesn't make much either. They're only carrying it because of social media driven results. They have a
Right.
famous person pushing it. I reverse engineered it. The retail store's making bank. The
Yeah.
distributor's making bank. And I only make based on volume. So now I've got a motivated retailer. I've got a motivated distributor who are going to build it for me. And now I make economies of scale. Now that we've got the whole infrastructure set up, then we put money into marketing. We did
And
it
then
backwards.
yeah, and
So,
I'm sorry. I was going to say real quick before we wrap up, I was supposed to be reminded of this, and my old ass remembered, so I'm proud of myself, right? You, Texas to Illinois, a guy that you had met, ran
mhm,
those stores, right?
mhm.
And this is a relationship from back in the day.
Yeah.
I want our people listening to understand because I know we don't have time to go into this, but I assume, just like me and just like Lisa, people that we've helped over the years open so many doors later that you have no idea. So it's
Oh,
so fucking crucial to do the right
it's
thing every single time you have an interaction.
it's the same thing. I give the same story every time I get speak at any high school because high school kids, it's everybody has a relation to this, right? I said I want you guys all to understand that every person you meet is a potential customer or an ally, and they're like, okay. I go, no, here, let me explain. You've got your dream business plan. It's 10 years from now. You've got a mortgage. You've got kids. You want to feed them, and this is where it's at. And every person should look at every person in life like this, by the way. But you've got the dream business plan, right? They go, yeah. Anyway, when you go to the bank, banker likes it. Now it goes to underwriting. Underwriting lady is the person you have beef with in high school right now, and now she's got your entire life in her hands.
Yep.
How does that change your approach to that person from here on forward? And all of a sudden, these kids, especially the kids, I go, oh my God. I go, that's right. How you treat people matters. You don't have to like somebody, but you can treat everyone with respect and kindness, and it goes a long ways. And honestly, my ability to just be authentic, organic, and genuinely be nice to people has opened so many doors. I'm not standing here without a few of these happenstance God moments where I got to meet people and just kept in touch. All this doesn't happen. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have a shack or a rock to, promote my brand for me. This took a lot of doors being opened by people that I have opened doors for myself. And that's really what it comes to. As long as, it's amazing the people that worked for me 10 years ago are now buyers in companies I'm trying to get into, and I'm dead serious. A kid that
Yeah.
worked for me 12 years ago, back before I had any gray hair, when he was in college, is a head buyer. I found out very recently at one of the largest grocery chains in the United States. That guy could quit literally hand me over a $50 million contract.
Yeah.
So thank God I'm not a jerk when I'm people's employer.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things to where you and I are doing some business, right? Like we're like I love being in the stores. We got to talk and there could be some stuff down the road and immediately people wanted me to connect with you. They vouch for your integrity and the way you do business. And then I asked you the same thing. And we
Yeah,
and I spent a lot of time on this. I said, "Hey man, why'd you get a hold of me for XYZ, which we're not going to talk about?" And you're like, "Dude, these two people told me to get a hold of you." Well, those two people are people I did business with in the past, right?
yeah,
So I just wanted to drive that home for all of our listeners. I know we have all of your information in the show notes. We have got the link to the protein popcorn if people want to try that, if they want to
yeah,
follow you. That's super important. Last quick question
yeah.
to wrap this up. Where are you at in 10 years?
Oh man,
Tough one,
happy
I know.
dad, happy grandpa, happy husband. Just at this point, I'm probably dialing back from the actual operational businesses and I'm out giving more speeches because that lights me on fire. I love to help people, and the bigger the stage, the more happy I am. Biggest speech has been in front of 10,000. I don't shy away from it. I love it, and that's what I want to do. I'll never retire, but hopefully, I just want to be a very involved grandpa. And when I get, as that stage goes on, and then honestly, be able to give as much back to the church and to my faith as I possibly can, because it's a miracle that I'm standing here, I'm sitting here now.
Yeah, well, I love it. And thank you so much for being on the show. I hope everybody listening got there's so many little nuggets. So I would go back and listen to this multiple times. Check out the show notes. You can follow Tim and everything that he's doing. Like you're literally, if you follow his Instagram stories, you're going to see him. He's got a booth set up here. He's flying to Canada here. He's going
Very
to
true.
Singapore here. Like I absolutely love it. And then you can also message Lisa and myself. Our emails are in the show notes if you want to hear a certain guest, have questions, because we've got Q&As lined up. I just have keep putting these off, Lisa, because we keep having these awesome guests on, and we've got a holy like a really good holy grail of guests coming up the next few months. So stay tuned for that. For myself, Lisa, Tim, thanks for coming on. We're out of here. See you guys.